All right, you want to say hello first?
Hello, everybody. Here we are again in episode 17. Ooh.
Prime number. That must mean something. I don't know.
It's good to be here tonight. It's good to be doing this. And we've been at it pretty much. Jim's been at it pretty much all day. Getting ready?
Well, and Saturday and Friday, actually.
Yeah.
I spent
He,
2 days working on these tracks. So.
He did a very ambitious thing, which we will show you momentarily.
I should have done it about a week ago so we could have had time to rehearse and learn it. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh, well. So anyway, here we are, and welcome. And we are having fun with this. And one of these days, we're going to figure out how to go mobile with it. And then we're going to do some other stuff. But for right now, we're still at home, still in the studio. And still kind of cramped in here. But
Yes, sir, indeed.
That's okay.
We a few weeks ago, Dee had mentioned kind of on the sly that we were thinking about doing some things, some different things, and we're still thinking about some of those other things. But this is a kind of like one of those things we've been thinking about. And what we've done this week, and I've spent probably a couple of days trying to put this thing together, which may not sound like anything except we do have other things to do besides 30 minutes on Tuesday nights, and so what I've did was, well, first, I've always, I'm sure I've said this before, I've always loved music from the time I was a little kid. I was just thinking earlier of a time, I don't know how old I was, but I think it may have been before I was even in school, because it was, my memories of how big our living room was are certainly skewed by how tiny I was, because we had a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, and it was a very small house, but it seemed big to me at that time. And I remember one time, what seemed so big was I was standing at one end of the living room, and the TV was at the other end of the living room. And the reason I was at the other side was because on the back side of the room, we had one of those pole lamps, a big tall lamp on the top, and just had a pole. And on TV was a group, some kind of group playing. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was an old country group or a rockabilly group. I can't remember that part, but I do remember that they had an upright bass, big upright bass. And so I went and stood by the pole lamp, and I held on, and I was trying to emulate what the guy on the stand-up bass was doing. And that's probably my earliest memories of trying to do something with music. And but when the British invasion came, things got really exciting for me. And I'm sure I've told the story before, how earlier my grandparents had got an accordion for my cousin and accordion lessons, and I begged for a guitar and guitar lessons and never got them. But for just a moment in time, everything changed for me, because all of a sudden, when instead of it being someone like Rick Nelson who was on TV or somebody like that, there was these 4 guys that couldn't even afford haircuts, that were that were just friends who had gotten together and learned to play instruments and made records and gone on the Ed Sullivan Show, and it appeared that it was going to be something accessible to regular kind of people. And so this British invasion was just amazing. I know that I don't know how we could ever have another thing like that. It was just so amazing to just be there when it started and just see it grow and change, and more groups coming and more creativity and so on. And this went on for about a year of just all this new stuff coming. And one of the last groups of that year-long wave that invaded us from England. One of the groups that came was the Hollies. And I know, sorry, my voice is a little shot. I've been practicing on this, working with this stuff for so long. Doesn't mean I'll remember it, but I do have a worn-out voice. One of the last groups to come was the Hollies. And I know back, I think maybe in February or something, we did a tribute to Graham Nash. And this is kind of a tribute to the whole band. And what I did was, I don't even know how many songs is in this. There's like maybe 5 songs, maybe. I took the songs and I wrote tracks, and I kind of chopped the songs up like they do for medleys. I made a medley of like 5. Well, you can count them. However many songs I did here, and put them together. And I started with the first song I ever heard by the Hollies, which I didn't know who the Hollies were. In those days, you just had the radio on, songs would come on. They didn't always announce who it was. And I heard this song. I went, wow, this is great. And I loved another new group. And so it has the first song I ever heard by the Hollies. And then I ended it with the last hit song the Hollies ever had before Graham Nash moved on. So it kind of covers that whole, for me, the Graham Nash era, and what you can't do with just 5 songs. But I just picked out some of the ones that I like, and we're gonna try and do that medley for you and start the night off with that. So good luck to me, and let's go ahead and see what happens. Now I can breathe, I can see, I can touch, I can feel, I can taste all the sugar sweetness in your kiss. You give me all the things I've ever missed. I never felt like this. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. I used to think that I was living. Baby, I was wrong. No, I never knew a thing about living until you came along. Now I can breathe, I can see, I can touch, I can feel, I can taste all the sugar sweetness in your kiss. You give me all the love I ever missed. I never felt like this. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. On a carousel, on a carousel, riding along on a carousel, trying to catch up to you. Riding along on a carousel, will I catch up to you? Horses chasing, cars are racing, saw me yet so far. On a carousel, on a carousel, round and 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 round with you. Up, down, up, down, up, down, a bus stop when day she's there, I say, please share my umbrella. Bus stop, bus go, she stays, love grows under my umbrella. All that summer we enjoyed it, wind and rain and shine. That umbrella we employed it, by August she was mine. Every morning I would see her
girl with symbols on her fingers entering through the door. Ruby glistening from her navel, shimmering around the floor. Bells of feet go tingling, going through my head. Sweat is pouring just like a teardrop's running from her head. Now she's dancing, going through the movement, swaying to and fro. Body moving, bringing back a memory, thoughts of long ago. Blood is rushing, temperature is rising, sweating from my brow. Like a snake, her body fascinates me, I can't look away now. Stop, stop, stop all the dancing, give me time to breathe. Stop, stop, stop all the dancing, or I'll have to leave. Now I hold her, people are staring, don't know what to think. As we struggle, knocking over tables, spilling all the drinks. Can't they understand that I want her happens every week? Heavy hand upon my collar throws me in the street. Stop, stop, stop all the dancing, give me time to breathe. Stop, stop, stop all the dancing, or I'll have to leave. Hey, Carrie Anne, hey, Carrie Anne. When we were in school, our games were simple. I played a janitor, you played a monitor. Then you played with older boys and prefects. What's the attraction? What they're doing? Hey, Carrie Anne, what's your game now? Can anybody play? Hey, Carrie Anne, what's your game now? Can anybody play? You were always something special to me, quite independent, never caring. You lost your charm as you were aging. Where is your magic disappearing? Hey, Carrie Anne, what's your game now? Can anybody play? Hey, Carrie Anne, what's your game now? Can anybody play? You're so like a woman to me. 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 White chocolate. Oh, I'm doing it wrong.
I blew it.
White chalk written on red brick. Our love born in our heart. It's there, drawn in the playground. Love kiss, a hate or a door. I love Jennifer Eccles. I know that she loves me. I love Jennifer Eccles. I know that she loves me. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. I used to carry her satchel. She used to walk by my side. But when we got to her doorstep, her dad wouldn't let me inside. Oh, one Monday morning, found out I'd made the grade. Started me thinking, had she done the same? Carrie Anne, Carrie Anne.
Well, there it is for the whole world to see.
Only one train wreck in the whole thing.
Oh, man. I don't know. Maybe now that I have the track, maybe at some point I ought to go back and like record it, and then we can put it up as
Yeah,
a recorded version
make
with.
a little EP thing or
Well, I
whatever out of it.
just to put up a video so you can see that if you work in a studio, you can fix all those mistakes and you won't even know what happened.
We can make it good.
Sorry, you guys. That's that first rule. Now, if you want me to teach you about performing, first rule is never let on that you made a mistake. Just keep going. No one else will even notice.
Sometimes it's so obvious that you can't really help it, though.
Well, there's probably only 2 people watching, so it's okay. I don't care. It's all right.
Well, when we were putting this together and practicing, I got to thinking about what a departure this is from my musical heritage, the culture I grew up in. Jim was a heathen, and I was.
Some people say I still am, but
I was the youngest Pharisee ever. So we make a good match. And, people have asked us, sometimes out loud and sometimes just with looks and head scratching.
Yeah, they don't usually say it out loud to us. They'll say it to other people, and then word gets back to us because they don't really want to say it to our face. But
So, yeah, I think in some circles we're backslidden because we do songs like the ones we just did. And the truth is that there has been a couple of things. Music is one of them, but the first one that I thought of tonight as we got ready was back when I was 11 years old. I went to camp, and God really, it was an incredible time. It was a life-changing encounter with the Holy Spirit that I had at camp in the San Bernardino mountains above San Diego, where I went to camp every single year.
It's more like above Riverside County, I think. San Bernardino is not really by San Diego.
Well, we would drive from San Diego up to San
okay.
Bernardino Mountains. So, and it was the same place every year, and it was pretty awesome every year. But this year was particularly nice with the layers of spiritual things. And I remember I came home from camp, and my mom said, "How was camp?" And I said, "Camp was really great." And she goes, "Tell me about it." And I said, "Well, I don't know a lot yet, but I know 2 things. I'm never going to have a home of my own, Mom. Never. And I'm always going to travel around." Should have seen the look on her face.
I can imagine, actually.
And while I was young, from 11 until I was in my early 20s, I was a literalist. I really thought that meant that we were never going to own a home, that Jim married me anyway. I don't know why, even though I told him up
What's
front.
wrong with me? I don't know. Yeah, I married into this knowing that she was never going to have a home of her own, which meant me too.
And that I would always travel around. And that has been quite true, although we haven't traveled as much these last few years as we did in the first part of our career. It still seems like we're always going out somewhere and coming back and going out and coming back. But there came a point when it slowly dawned on me that it really wasn't about whether my name was on a deed. It really was about what was in my heart. And the Lord had told me, as I got older, I saw how important it was for women especially to have a place that they could control. A place where they could decide where they put the silverware, and they could decide what pictures they hung on the wall. And from the very beginning, the Lord said, when I was so young, He took that out of my heart, that desire or that warning that I should never expect to have what I saw most other people having. It reminds me of when Peter and Jesus were walking together, and Jesus was telling Peter how he was going to die, and Peter looked back at John and said, "What about him?" And Jesus said, "What is it to you? What if he lives until I return?" And that's kind of what I thought. I said, okay, doesn't matter what everybody else has. It doesn't matter what everybody else does. The Lord was saying, what is it to you? You follow me. You do what I want you to do. And so as time went on, it has become more and more evident that not just my house, but everything that I have, everything that I am, everything that I might expect to have control of are his to do with what he wants. And that there are lots of times when there are people living in our house with us, and I love it. And
is that what you're getting at? It's not your own?
Yeah, it is not. It is. I still, after I'm over 60 years old, and I still don't have a home of my own. It's not mine to control. It's not mine to do with what I want. And so I know we're talking about music. A few years later, when the Lord started demonstrating that he wanted to give me something that was musical in nature.
Are you talking about later from
years,
now or later from then?
No, from then. A few years after that time, when I was 11, maybe I was 13 or 14 or whatever. It was at the kind of the precursor to the Jesus movement. A lot of stuff was happening. I was singing a lot, and it seemed like, even though it was a lot of fun, it seemed really like it was something that God wanted me to do and wanted me to pursue. And so I promised God that I would never sing for anybody but him. And I think I might have even gone to an altar. And
ooh, now you know it's serious.
Promised God that I would never sing for anybody but him. And so years went over, and I never cared to sing for anybody but him. And then the weirdest thing happened a few years ago. The Lord started opening the door for us to use as tent making and getting out in the community and
well, you could backtrack a little bit, because 25 years ago, we during some of the dark years, and I had injured myself. I had a shoulder injury, and I was out of work. I'd mostly worked, construction and handyman kind of stuff, whatever, but construction a lot. And I was injured, and I couldn't work for about a year, and we had some serious problems. We lost our vehicles and all kinds of things. We were living in a bus, and I just, out of desperation. This wasn't the days when we had iPads to put tracks on or anything. I had to actually take a keyboard and a computer and all this stuff with me and use what's called MIDI. Maybe someday I'll talk to you about MIDI. But I made tracks nonetheless, and I became a one-man band, which was very unusual, in 1991 or whenever that was, 91, I guess, 90, somewhere around there. And I did kind of what we're doing now. In fact, I just recently came across a video that a friend of ours made of me at a wedding reception, and I put it up. I copied it off the VHS and put it up on the web. If you're looking for it, I think it says, if you're looking for it, go to our channel. I think it's something like, what does it say in there? My British Invasion or something like that, and where I do a bunch of the same kind of songs, and I was doing that, and I tried to get Dee to help me then and go into it, but I don't even remember all the reasons. For some reason,
one of the main reasons was because the girls were still little, and there was this problem of
going to work and then not having anyone to watch the kids. Yeah. So, because work is always at night when you do this kind of, almost always at night. Can I get that little bottle over there?
Yes.
I need some of that. Thank you. Getting high here.
Don't pay any attention to what he's doing right now. So Back to my part of the story. I had told the Lord I would never sing for anybody but Him. And then He did that, His one-man band. I really, even though we practiced some and we worked things out, there was still some discomfort and disquiet in me because I was a lot more religious than I would care to admit. And but when we came out here, we started helping Winky, and we started getting to know people, and I worked for many years. I worked at a bank. I worked at Mercy Ships, and there came a time when we really longed to do something together, because we were so tired of me getting up and going to work and us not being able to do our life together like we had planned almost 44 years ago when we got married. And
You get way ahead. It's not even.
I said almost.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
At the end of September.
The end of September. It's still a ways away.
It's 43 years. Plus. I don't know.
So a few years ago, after we'd done the Selfish Giant album, we started singing with the girls, and we just threw some oldies in there, and then oldies just kind of took everything over, and we've told a story about how there was this anointing on it and kind of freaked us out. And during that time, I started revisiting my promise to God. And, He's just so awesome. He's so sweet. And He let me know that in the same way as I would never have a home of my own, but it wasn't what I expected, that He said I was fully able to keep my promise to Him, because singing for Him and singing about Him aren't necessarily the same thing. And so here we are, and we can go into a big long thing, and maybe one of these days we'll talk a little bit about what we mean when we say blurring the lines.
Well, I remember in my early Christian walk, I probably hadn't even been saved a year or so, and I was at some kind of a retreat or something with a bunch of collegiates. Of course, they're very brainy, because they went to college, and I just worked in construction. But one of the leaders, I was having lunch at a picnic table talking with one of the leaders of this big college group, and I was trying to impress upon him that everything we do needs to be done as unto the Lord and for His glory. And he's holding this hamburger sandwich of some kind that he had. And he says, "Oh, so I'm supposed to eat this sandwich to glorify God?" I said, "Actually, there is a scripture verse that says, whatever you do, whether you eat or drink, do all to the glory of God." And he just kind of looked down and started eating again. But
So here we are, all these years later, and we're doing things that a lot of church people don't understand us because we don't do it the way they expect we would, and a lot of people in the world don't understand us because we seem to we sing songs that they like, and we don't seem that religious, and then all of a sudden, there it is. There's that Jesus thing. And
yeah, and we probably should, I don't, again, in our plans, we're thinking about trying to find ways to do not just these live streams, but other things where we tackle subjects that need to be talked about, and we don't have to worry about going over a time limit or whatever like we have tonight. But anyway, I'm pretty sure we'll delve into this a little bit more at another time.
yes, when we have more time.
Yes.
Time for the last song?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This last song for tonight is a song that we did back in our Agape Force days when I was the producer and producing a bunch of albums, all the albums that came before To the Chief Musician and I guess a Music Machine and all that. I was producing a bunch of albums, and this one was on an album called Potpourri. And for those of you that have picked up our album Homesteading, which we just recently digitized and made available, and I'll go ahead and put a link to this one tomorrow. But this original version of this. We stuck it on the Homesteading album, and we hardly ever did this song because it was a keyboard song, and I couldn't play the keyboards and the guitar at the same time. So I did I did my thing this week. I went in and I made a track where I did the keyboards first, and now I can play the guitar part as the iPad plays the rest of the parts for me.
It's a technology one.
Yeah, it can be. It can be a real nightmare too. But so this is one of our early songs and one of our earliest recorded songs. It's called "How Could You Love Me So."
How could you love me so, when it seems sometimes I don't know which way I should go, but I'm yours if you take me, and I'll yield if you break me. Jesus, why'd you die that dreadful death on Calvary, when I've lived to please only me, but I'm yours if you take me, and I'll yield if you break me. Count the years, all the years I've spent in vain. Give to you, now I do all that remains. And I'm yours if you take me, and I'll yield if you break me. Count the years, all the years I've spent in vain. Give to you, now I do all that remains. Jesus, why'd you die? Why'd you die that dreadful death on Calvary, when I've lived to please only me, but I'm yours if you take me, and I'll yield if you break me, but I'm yours if you take me, and I'll yield if you break me.
Well, there you go. That's our 30 minutes for this week. Anything else to say? Reminders or anything? You just
Well,
I don't know.
if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please. And we have the Jim and D Music Facebook page that we use to communicate things on Facebook about this. There's the event that we are all out of invites, so you can go and use that event to invite your friends if you want. We would appreciate that if you would like to. And any comments, any suggestions? We haven't forgotten the suggestions we've already got. We're trying to gestate a little bit and see how we can fit those in. And
Yes,
we hear you.
it's the time issue we're dealing with here. So
We love you, and we'll see you next week.
thank you, guys.